Live. That's what's happening. As y'all can see, we have Monk.E in the building. This is Bridge the Gap. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and this is the show where we take super interesting people such as Monk.E over here. I'm like, when it comes to interesting, I might say that to a lot of people because I do. But like Monk.E takes it to a tier of interesting that not many humans on the planet, I think, can really, really get to. So it's like
Wow.
actually super interesting. I mean, I caught snippets of your story throughout like different lives and things, and like the vast variety of topics, experiences, countries you visited, multiple disciplines of artistry that you've mastered, not just mastered. Like, like that's a tier of like next level. Like that I
Oh
think
man.
a lot of people should know about. So for me, this is the interview of all the people that I personally like was like who I would want to interview. I think this is the one I wanted the most this year.
Woo! Clap,
And
clap, 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 clap,
so
clap, clap,
like
clap.
that.
Well, I'm honored, my brother. I would have to say that what I carry is not always visible to all. So for you to be able to articulate so clearly the impact that what I produce has on you and your inspiration, to me, it's some sort of mission accomplished. I feel that all my life I've been obsessed with communicating myself and communicating these gifts that were deposit in me from a early age. So for you to be able to speak about these things, it's honoring, it's flattering, and it's some sort of confirmation that I made good decision in my life to be able to have someone as you on your platform, um, share his testimony of my work. To me, it's a blessing. Thank you for having me, brother.
Yeah, it's honestly my pleasure. But with that, we do got a little bit of a little opening that we do. The rest of the show is kind of whatever, but it starts off kind of the same. And for it, the opening question to make sense, you do need to tell us a little bit about where you start your life, just like where your life begins.
I do believe my life begins previous to the Big Bang. Obviously, we speak in metaphors and in spirituality, but my life began before I took possession of this body. And possession is not the right word. Please excuse me. English is my second language. But before we took hold of our body, we were already alive. That's how I feel. Maybe not alive in the same form, in the same
Right.
borders, because ego and an identity is based on the I, on the self. So maybe the self was different, but the soul of who I am was here from generation to generation to generation, evolving, transforming, mixing, collaborating. Um, so I, but I, to answer your question in a more literal sense, I would say I was born in a small city called Drummondville, living in a small city called Saint-Charles de Drummondville, um, white French Québécois,
Awesome.
um, 100,000 people living there, maybe. That's where I started doing graffiti. That's where I
We're
did
gonna get into. Oh, hold up.
elementary school,
We're gonna get
high
into all of
school.
that. Believe it or not,
I,
the first question that's all we needed. But holy shit, what an
okay.
answer, my guy! What a fucking
Yeah, man.
answer! I love it. I'm into this. Like on a more spiritual sense, I'm with you. I don't necessarily have the same level of depth of thinking about it as you have done, but I'll fucks with that heavy. With that though, I got my token opening question to ask everybody, and it's a little bit of a story. And then like when it lands, you can kind of answer the question. It's going to be super interesting for me to hear, just because you're from such a different part of Quebec than I am in terms of your growing upness. So it starts with my girlfriend, and basically she's washing the dishes one time, and she's got her phone playing, and it's that Black Eyed Peas song, the I got a feeling, ooh. She's vibing, she's dancing, she's doing her thing. I look at her and I'm like, yo, when the fuck did this song become chores music? Right? Because like this is a song now that people throw on when they want to bop around. They're doing chores, they're working out, they're doing some chores, they want to go back to like a happier time. And why I say that is because if you run it back like 10 years and you went out to the clubs and the bars and whatnot, that song is like the middle of the nightclub banger. When that song came out, everybody's jumping in circles, super drunk, having the time of their life. 10 years goes by. The song doesn't change because it's a song and they stay the same. But we as people evolved so much that the context of that clubbing music, that whole vibe, has now turned into the chores music, the exercise music. And it got me just thinking about the evolution of life. Like these 20-year-olds now, they're out partying and shit. They have no idea that this is going to be their future chores music. And they don't know that when we hear their music, we make it our current chores music, because that's just the evolution of life. And why I bring up all that context is because this is like the story of Monk.E. And if we think a lot about when people start like their stories, when they talk about their artistry, well, maybe not you, but most people started in this adolescent phase when they first discover hip hop, when they first start writing, when they first start forming identity. And we kind of miss a lot of the story. Like music is kind of a thing that's always around you, right? Like when you did come out of that hospital at that point and this version of you started to appear, you know, there's probably music in that room already being absorbed by you, even if nobody can remember what it is. And I can remember being like 5, and my dad, he's got like these gray boxes in the apartment, the amp, the radio, the tape deck, the fucking wires going out to all the speakers. He'd be like busting his Led Zeppelin tapes and shit at some parts of the days. At nighttime, it's like the 90s vibes of like MC Mario live from the clubs and whatnot. Mom's was more into like the love songs and the discos and the musicals and that whole vibe. And all of these things, the technologies, the access, all of this was happening around me, and I had no control to the music. I had no like sway in it. It was just still being absorbed by me, and it wasn't until much later on that I got any control over it. So I was hoping, Monk.E, that you could bring us back down to the youngest version of this Monk.E that we can have here, and what he can remember being like the sounds and the influences and the vibes, and not just with the music, but just like your experiences being the youngest Monk.E you can remember, because not all of us are going to grow up like you did in the world that you did.
Wow. Well, to me, it's I guess for everyone, it's a deep relation. So I think it's a beautiful question for you to ask, because it is indeed part of the subconscious and part of the foundations of what we become. You know, the generation and the music that is playing during that generation. To me, I remember moments like we had like municipal Christmas parties where every youth was receiving a gift. It was kind of a school thing a little bit. So I remember things like "Life is life," da-na-na-na-na, like songs, anthem like this that all my life remained like hype music or corny hype music. You know, I don't know how to say this, but it did affect a lot my enthusiasm, because it was also related with waiting to receive a gift. You know, I think these are some of the moments that touched me musically. But I would say, as a general thing, I am proud that my parents, at this time of my life, they were not putting me into a pop surrounding. So I was not like, my parents were not listening to radio and pop music. We had a bit of Christian music playing, instrumental music. We had like crème sonore, like
Like the
soundtracks.
soundtracks, yeah.
We had certain things playing, but I guess my father had a really strong relation to music. He was playing in a band. He was a bass player in a band, and sometimes it was conflicting with his other responsibilities in his life. So it became a time in his life where he was seeing music as the enemy, you know, like his passion for music and smoking and all of these things. So he became Christian, but I believe he became a philosophical Christian. He became like an ethical human. You know, it was all about philosophy and respect and growth. It was not about doctrines and laws, and it was not really. So I guess it was the perfect surrounding for me. So I was not bombarded with pop music all of my childhood. Um, but it's also why I kind of learned music as a later phase. You know, I was already writing poetry like strongly young, like the from before I could actually write. I was saying poetry for my mom to write for me. You know, so
Oh,
I've been doing
hold on.
poetry.
How young are you when you're just doing that? Like right out the.
Yeah, well, poetry. I can remember being 4 or 5 years old already doing poetry, you know, but it's not in a sense of knowing what poetry is. It's just I was formulating sentences with images and metaphors and things like that, you know, like all children do. They all speak really poetically when you listen to them, you know, when they're learning languages, the way they will speak and use new words will often be super poetic and in a beautiful perspective of languages, you know. But
Yo, I don't
I
think
don't know if I'm
anybody's ever said that to me, but that fucking sounds like truth when I think about anything I've ever heard kids say.
well, I guess kids also have a lot of foul thing. They have also like vulgar thing and dumb thing. Like they're human like us. We should not idolize children either. But I just mean there's a part of their innocence and the way they use language that you could find a lot of poetry in it. So I do believe that I was consciously choosing certain words to express certain ideas. Like from really early on, I was creating cartoons with different storylines. So I was creating all the dialogue. So to me, this is a form of poetry also, you know, this is scripting, you know.
So,
So I would have to say
when
that
did you
music
start making
uh,
comics?
came later.
I mean, to me, it's like,
I don't know, 7, 8.
how do you get to that point? Like, to me, it's wild, right? Because, like, you gotta understand, most people aren't like 8 years old being poets, spitting comic books and whatnot, right? Like, to me, it's like wildly
Actually, I'm
interesting to
not.
hear to.
I'm okay, but I would say maybe I have a different perspective, but I have the impression that children are more inclined into art and inspiration and immediate improvisation. If you put them in a spot where they could improvise sound, they will go more wild than you. You know, they will improvise new sounds and new ideas. I
Okay,
don't know.
I
So
see
I
what you're
feel that
saying.
this creativity it's always there. I believe it's becoming adult that is taming these things that are more natural as a children, the creativity and everything. That's my way of seeing in it, and I'm it's not an absolute. It's a beautiful thing, my brother. It's a beautiful thing to be able to relate and to learn from younger and older generations. I think this is what I want to become as a musician. That relation, like music, because music came later. I always felt from early on that I would become a celebrity after I would pass away. You know, because I was really seeing myself as creating paintings and images. So when I started doing music, I was already on a vibe where my whole being will be famous. My entire life will be recorded through my art, and I will become known for that archives. You know, so I it never became
Yo,
like
hold up.
music.
Is that like what? I guess that's the art thing, right? Like you don't really expect to pop when you're alive as an art. I guess is that like what it is?
Yeah, and it's even also part of general culture. Even an uncle that never don't even know what who Salvador Dali is, or maybe heard Picasso, but don't even have no idea, will tell you, "Oh, sign my receipt there. I'll keep it, and I'll be it will worth a lot of money when you'll die or later." You know, so that idea of the worth of the intellectual property or the artistic property is kind of more sacred, I feel, in visual art. As with music, because it's a vibration, it's untangible, it's not a material thing. I feel it's a more cruel industry, you know, sometimes. But I would say my growth into art was not through music; it was through poetry, and then it became really art when I discovered the punk rock music. When I was a teenager, and now I could get away from Christian music. Well, to me, punk rock music was ethical. There was a social fight for justice. There was some sort of understanding that government is not necessarily for you. You know, there was a lot of values that attracted me. So I guess musically,
Who are some of the early punk bands that inspired you?
like 10 Foot Pole, Scratching Weasel, uh, Rancid, 88 Lewis. I don't even remember even I was listening to Blink also at first, and Green Day and some of these stuff. And you know, I discovered hip hop because I was going to shows with my skateboarder friends, and like there was rap starting to be included in punk rock music. A lot of the West Coast skateboarder, they were doing their editing.
And you
Okay,
wanted
that's
so we
amazing.
heard all of what you said. We just didn't see you react as well. Although that's
So
a ill backdrop, all things considered.
yeah, this is my studio. This is where I store my canvases and I have all of my spray paint. I'm all disorganized right now because it's my high season. You know, I'm painting every day for the like in the next 40 days I will be painting 36 of those days, you know. So right now I don't have time to clean up. It's not even priority, but this is where um I do my thing, you know. I come choose my colors and prepare my production for murals.
Yeah, that's wild. People care about that a lot. You have no idea how much people love the behind the scenes shit. That's so cool. But yeah, that's wild to think that like poetry leads you into visual arts, which honestly, comics and shit. Like you were tell it. Okay, what kind of comics did you make as a young one? I'm curious what like a little monkey comic is like.
Um Man, there was a lot of relation to nature. I was already kind of like interested about saving the planet and stuff like that. Um I had a lot of I had like really into sports and my relation to animals. So I had a lot of I was drawing and reproducing a lot of the Aki cards and stuff like that,
Okay.
and remixing certain things from the Aki card. Um, but it's really with the hip hop that instead of just doing poetry and drawings,
Oh yeah, you didn't say how
now
you
now
actually got into the poetry. So you said you were like going to punk shows, and then it kind of like at that point, I feel like we lost the
yeah,
story.
that's true. I was coming back, but it's all part of the same thing. But basically, hip hop was being introduced in the punk rock and skateboard scene more and more
Mm.
because of the West Coast. A lot of the skateboarder they were more into hip hop, you know. But I went to a show. I was going to all the shows that I could go to in Drummondville, the punk rock shows, and there was Shades of Culture doing the first act of 10 Foot Pole. And
Say fucking word, eh?
yeah, and I fell in love with that. And now I became open to hip hop. And when I started seeing hip hop, there was always these graffitis everywhere, and there was this philosophy about diversity and human beings and fighting to be heard and all of these things that I felt from early on. I was in search of justice. You know, I was seeing a lot of injustice around me already from early on. So I guess that's what hip hop is. You know, when they say hip hop is a lifestyle, often you know, it's a lifestyle you're already searching for, and hip hop just provides all the element you needed to express yourself. No, that's it. So I guess hip hop is what really brought me more deeper into music and having an artistic identity that is coherent through the identity of hip hop. You know, all of my tentaculas, all of my, I don't know how you call them, but an octopus, I
Yeah,
don't know how it's
tentacles.
called.
Tentacles.
all all of my different mediums can act as tentacles of the same being. They're not separated in different communities, or you know, they're all one and part of superpowers that I have as a hip hop b-boy superhero, you know. So I never left. I never left that relation with my alter ego that is my creative self. I would even say that my creative self and my alter ego became my main identity, and I worked on not having uh, dissonance between my private identity and my public identity, you know. But I always refused to amputate my creativity or sacrifice my level of productivity. These are always been part of my life mission, I feel, you know. So, but it started really 14 years old, discovering hip hop through Cypress Hill and Nas and Mobb Deep and Wu Tang Clan, and being here producing music and traveling the world, um, hoping to reproduce that feeling that I've been feeding from.
So yeah, when you're like getting into it, then how does it like start for you? Like you say, you saw the graph, you got into that at some point. So you go to the show, you see like this stuff, it opens up your eyes. It starts to. What happens next in terms of that? Like bring us back to being like 14.
Well, I was searching my place. 14, you're looking for your identity, right? I um first grade of high school, I went with my big buddy that will go to private school, a French friend with who I was creating these cartoons and everything. And he went for the exams of entry for that private school. So I went with him, and they told me to do the test, and I was second in math and first in French in the test in all of the students. So they asked my parents to pay private high school for me to kind of be there and give my grades to that school, right? But it was chaotic because I was somewhat not fashion. Um, I was a shy person, stuttering, not cool. I was not a popular kid. I was a creative already. I was favored more by adults or by teachers, but I was kind of already kind of on a different, uh, dressing different, thinking different, talking different, right?
Right.
And I guess I always searched for that. So when I was 14 now, being in a punk rock city, white French speaking city, with my sister as an adopted Asian black sister, um, I felt proud to be part of the counterculture or the alternative culture or the hidden part of humanity, like the all of this institutionalized whiteness has prevented from diversity to be properly represented in many places, with the Eurocentrism and Western world centrism and all of these things. So to me, I felt that hip hop was a more honest voice of what we need to speak about. I felt more included in that narrative than in the narrative of what I was proposed through school and academics and media. So I guess I was a black sheep again. Like I was dressing all white, warm up suit, all army fatigue, so a lot of people, it showed a lot of people some racism, or it showed like closeness of spirit of a lot of people. But to me, I felt like a warrior to kind of be against the grain, to be like, to not take part of what I was considering the problem. And by that, I don't mean the punk rock culture, because punk rock culture was a step closer to what I was searching for, but I speak more like general society.
Right. Man, you're eloquent as fuck with
So
this.
So at 14, that was it. At 14, I had 3, 4 friends my age that were willing to make beats and do breakdance and go do graffiti, and we met older clique that were maybe 8 years, 10 years older than us. They were already they have cars and turntables, and so our two generation connected. And my first mixtape were like at the home of these big brothers. I was 14, 15, they were 24. So that was really my beginning into hip hop, and I was already hitchhiking to come to Montreal or coming with them on their ride, but I was already having a lot of back and forth
So
to
you're
Montreal.
hold up. So you're
So
like
I became
a 15-year-old that managed to link up with people and drop mixtapes back before it was even easy to drop mixtapes. Like that's
well,
pretty.
actually, maybe I mispronounced this one. They dropped the mixtape from which I had my first verse on.
You know
But
what?
it's
Even
still something
it
big for
doesn't
me.
actually. It takes the accomplishment down barely anything. You're still like 15 in an era where I've got the feeling you're a bit older than me. So it's in an era where it's like not the simplest time to even be involved in music. Even when I was in high school, it's not like people be
Completely.
like doing that. So like the fact that you managed to integrate into this culture that's hidden, that like ends up in a place where you link up with the right people to get features on a mixtape, is actually pretty fucking cool. How I guess how big is the under culture of where you're at? Like, Is there like a lot of people involved in it? Like, what's
At
that
that
vibe?
at that point, it was at that point it was nothing. At that point, there was maybe 5 person in the whole city doing tags. So like there was not like a lot of people. It was like a virgin place, you know. And I guess that's why I didn't stay there. I was really finding what I was searching for, coming to Longueuil, coming to Montreal. It's funny because last week I saw DJ Blast in a park, in a party. And DJ Blast is the first DJ from Montreal. He was the mentor of my Drummondville DJ friend that were coming out with the mixtapes, you know. So I met him maybe like in 98 or 99, if you know what I mean. So, and now I'm in a place where all of these people, all my life that I've been inspired by, I'm eating at the same table as them now, you know. So I do feel that yeah, it's a good thing, and I'm happy I can share all of these backstories, you know.
It's actually really cool. I mean, when you said that Shades of Culture came to your town and that inspired you, that's like wildly cool to hear. You know, like just how it could all be so like interconnected with that. You know, like I'm in NDG right now, so that's like fucking wildly cool to hear. And then like just the
Yep.
idea that like,
Storm,
or even Blasters
Revolution,
too. You know, that's again NDG.
D shit.
So that's,
But Blaster is also shout out to Blaster, but I was talking of DJ Blast,
oh my
which is a
bad, my
different DJ.
bad. I apologize. I got confused there. But that's fair enough. There's a
All
lot of
good.
names out there that I am trying to keep track of in my head as I go through this process and learn more and more each time. Fair enough still. So you basically end up, are you performing at like that age? Are you involved in that side of things as
I
well?
am actually, and one of the crazy story I haven't spoke really of yet. I won in Drummondville. I connected with um someone from Saint-Hyacinthe. His name was Bouli le Psy, and he came to live to Drummondville. So he had all of his contact from Saint-Hyacinthe. Is Saint-Hyacinthe is halfway between Montreal and Drummondville. So it was already kind of closer to the knowledge, to the having access to the good music and the good spot and everything. So he kind of together we created a group called Natural Reflect, and it was Monk.E and Bully le Psy. And we started doing shows. And at that point, I was 15, I guess 16, 17. I don't remember because I was continuing to come back to Drummondville, even if I was living in Longueuil. So around 16, I moved to Longueuil. But I continue in Drummondville. So I don't remember at what time I was at Natural Reflect exactly.
Right, right.
But at that time, I was 15, 16, or 17, 16 maybe. And we won a rap competition, and the prize was to do Rascal's opening act
Okay.
out of town. So I was 16 and I was already going out of town doing shows. This is how I met Attache Tatuc, Sans Pression, Chien Manger Chien, Vulgaire, everyone basically. I start doing the first act, the opening act of a lot of these out of town shows, you know, not in Montreal, but Drummondville, Victoriaville, Sherbrooke, Saint Hyacinthe.
So
And
basically, you plugged into all the big dudes from Montreal when they was trying to make the small town money outside of Montreal. Because from what I understand, there's a whole circuit for like the smaller towns in Quebec, and there's like actually money to be made at these shows and events, like 2 hours, 3 hours away from Montreal.
well, I guess it is, but back then, honestly, I think it was more my friend. They were organizing the shows and they were booking their friend just to be able to chill and to kind of have this inspiration in our community, you know. So
Say word.
I don't know if it was really um, something like economically prolific, but it was amazing in what it did to my mind, though, and it made me want to pursue this as my daily life, you know. So big shout out to all of these beautiful people. But I guess that none of them actually opened doors to me. It's that they all inspired me to open the doors for myself, you know. And that's what I started doing, and then I'm still doing for myself to this day, you know.
So I guess yo, what's up everybody in the chat? So like, so you're going through that run. So you're opening. You're getting. Yo, what's it like to perform back then? What's the crowds like? I mean, we're talking about a completely different era of performing too.
I would say they're similar to the punk rock shows. They're small shows, 100 to 300 people when you are in a cégep or a college, or sometimes you have certain acts that are booked like in nightlife, but these are the worst gig to do because people are there to dance. And the type of rap we're doing, it's rap. It's actually not dancing music. If we were doing dancehall or something else, or singing over house music, maybe, but we're doing Nas and Rakim style in Drummondville, like in a French speaking Quebecois community. No, it was not adapted to this. I think it became more popular um, when Quebecois started doing it. That's a sad thing, and that's what is an example of some sort of maybe not racism, but close-mindedness. You know, until like Eminem, he broke a lot of barriers just because a lot of rednecks started like seeing themselves in rap music. Me personally, I did not need to see a white rapper to feel myself spoken to in hip hop music, you know. So, but I guess for outside of Montreal, that's what helped the culture when there was
I mean, I'm gonna
people
say
from the
like,
region making it happen.
I definitely think that Eminem made it a lot more accessible for somebody like in my world to get Eminem too. Like my parents saw rap different after Eminem.
100%. And that's a truth, and it's a sad truth, but it's a truth.
Or like they would then add that filter of there's the good hip hop I'm allowed to listen to that they liked, and then there's the other hip hop that's scary. Which that one is
Yeah.
still, if we're talking true, is prevalent to this very day. And if you watch like the underground, there's like this trend of this debate of what the good hip hop actually means, and a lot of times it really just depends on who's saying it and what their intentions are. A lot of people are
Always,
trying to like,
obviously.
yeah, I don't know, that stuff I feel really
But
passionately about, but still.
yeah. So big shout out to the culture that inspired me, the Black American culture, the Puerto Rican culture, the North American ghetto, those who have been oppressed systematically and have created a channel and a voice to express their originality and their unicity. Um, well, I have mad respect, honor, and love for you. I try to give back to the same virtues and qualities and disciplines as what I was taught and given. And I keep the wheel rolling. New generations are doing magic with this beautiful culture. So
It's facts.
blessings, 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 and gratitude to all the pioneers of this culture.
I love the way you approach life, man. It makes sense how you're like who you are. It really does. Just the way you approach it. When you hear it being told, and this is like super interesting shit. Like your whole perspective, like the way you articulate, it's really a blessing to hear it. But let's
Wow.
say,
Well,
nah, man, I'm telling you, like, because you're an orator. It's like I don't know how else to put it. Like saying you speak well didn't feel like fancy enough. So like, but yo, let's run it back then. So you're still doing this shit. You're part of this like budding underground Quebec hip hop culture, and you're effectively, if you go to wrestling terms, kind of playing the jobber role as the opener. So you're really doing your part in a really
but
cool and humble way. Not to say
I
that
would
you,
say, and at that point, I was having small personal accomplishment, but I was not big at all. I was disregarded in many places. I was like hustling to be known, you know, and but just to make sure that the picture is correct, I was not like already like. It's just that like everything, when you're true and honest, there's people in every scene that you will connect naturally with, you know,
but
even if they're older than you or
if
your
we were to
age, you know. But
like run like a hierarchy of,
so but yeah,
but if we like ran everybody that's like out there and we really, really, really thought about it, you're still like just on a chronological front part of that initial that era. Like you're part of it, even if it's not like you're the leader of the pack. It still require everybody to be there in every capacity to move it forward. The way that's why I'm so happy at how many people are part of the scene. You know, now it's like you need a lot of people in the scene to make it a
100%.
scene. So I do think it's really cool that you were there at that time and that you're still here today doing it. And it's that like, you know, tenure that like really creates that legendary status to me. But still, so you run through
Well,
that like part of it. What kind of comes next? 'Cause you said you started to create your own opportunities. So like, what were some
well,
other?
it's just that I moved to one of my friend that I started listening to hip hop with, that he was also a weirdo. He was like a spiritual minded. His mother is a blessing. Like she was really inspiring in her way of living her life and her philosophy. And so basically, us two weirdos, we connected really well, and we moved together to Longueuil to pursue our dreams. So that's what it happened. The group I had kind of faded out, and I came to Montreal. I came to Longueuil. I was working in the industrial neighborhood of Longueuil, and every weekend I was going to paint in different back alleys, different legal spot, different illegal rooftops, different collaboration people I was meeting. And I met these passionate graffiti artists from South Shore, and we created a crew called HUV, which is Hold Up Visuel, like visual hold up. And it's a SAR and CRAC. But later on, we met Ust1, who was coming from Sherbrooke, and we created a new crew called the K6a. And
DJ Magnanimous in the chat had K6a time, so I was waiting for you to
yes,
say it.
these are the beginning of the K6a. That's 2001 type of era
Wow.
where Usty was rapping in English. We had different philosophy. Usty1 was like rah, like breaking the city. It was K6a. While me, I was on my philosophy tip and exist continual existential crisis, and some other were more in the styles and other things. But these are amazing area that created me. That in my raps, I still talk a lot about these eras. I still talk honestly about adrenaline feelings and fellowship feelings that come from that era and time. Um, and then that's it. It grew from there.
No, but like,
K6a, we
what's
were
it?
four.
So yeah, what's it like to be in that scene? Like, you gotta understand a lot of us maybe can't really fully picture what it's actually like to be involved in that
Okay.
universe.
For us, it was for me, it was doing trains. I was having missions, certain spot where I felt comfortable to go paint trains illegally. So to me, one of my things that I really loved was chilling, smoking, painting, freestyling around train tracks and abandoned buildings and yards. So I was spending time every time I was not at work. I was spending time in these opportunities, painting, taking pictures, going to graffiti festivals, going to art exhibition, drinking, smoking, painting, collaborating, exchanging, learning from the older brothers, older sisters already established, um, already creating. I was painting already. I was searching for different styles, different way of expressing. So I was drawing a lot. I was tagging a lot. I was that was my early phases of calligraphy, what we call the hand style, like a graffiti hand style, your signature, your tag, was my beginning into calligraphy also. So I guess that's what it was like for me. It was like being with the brothers, being with the sisters, exploring the city, uh, climbing onto new rooftop, knowing where the entrance to a secret building, uh, like all of these things were really interesting to me, and going to create and give a second life to parts that have been abandoned and deemed dead. So I would say that was my inspiration. But then on the other side, I started meeting musicians. So or rappers started building with maybe Watson, with Lopeshi. Um, so I was also going in studio now, bigger studios. Uh, we came up with a single called Comme Tout est Rien that came out in 2003, I think. So it was the beginning of K6a, 2004. And that was with now Watson being invested, but also um, Filigrane being closer. I think Filigrane was a bit later, though, I guess. But these were what I was doing. I was doing music with Lowe's and Watson, painting with Sire and Sirac, and developing my portfolio. So when a lot of people were going to party, I was less into party. I was really like finishing my day, like what I'm still doing today. I was finishing my day of painting, sketching for the next day, the next idea, writing the verse. I was never stopping. I was creating something. And that's why I needed to have many medium. Because when I finish doing a graffiti, I don't want to do a second graffiti. I want to keep creating, but I need something else. So I create a poem, or I create a clothing, or I create a new logo.
When
or
did you start getting into creating clothes?
Man, from so early, that's what make it supernatural, that's make it part of my story in a deep way. It's intertwined like the textile of my early days. My mom was creating everything. She was creating my clothes, she was cutting
It's
my hair,
wild.
she was painting our paintings in the house. She was collecting antiquity, like I don't know if it's antiquity the word, like antiquité,
Antiquities. Antiquities.
antiquities,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
old
Antiquities.
old artifacts. She had a cactus collection. Um, so my dad was really more like the philosophy,
Oh,
the
antiques.
ethics,
Maybe antiques.
antiques.
That's
Exactly, it is.
right. Shout out Bonnie, my girlfriend, for correcting me.
That's fresh. So that these are the antiques. Is it English your first language?
Yeah. I barely. I
Okay.
mean, I speak French like functionally. Like at a certain point, as an anglophone, you go, "Oh, I actually want to make money in some capacity in this province," and there's only one way to do that because at a certain tier of life, if you can't at least start the meeting in French, like people are so forgiving. Like there's a guy at my work where if I walk into the room and I speak English first, he won't talk to me. I just got to be like, "Salut, okay," and then I can speak in English, but I at least have to start it in French, and
Well,
he'll
that's
acknowledge
fresh.
it. And I'm like, and that's cool. And then like, but the truth is like they are a lot more willing to have me involved in projects. The one because I can, our head office ended up being in France after a merger. So the advantage of being able to speak French to the France people has been like hella advantageous, like so like along the way I kind of fell in love with the language and hated the politics more, but it created a divide. So like
Yeah.
the language is a beautiful language and is worth knowing. The politics is what they is. But French is sexy as fuck, yo. If you have that French English accent, it's only in your advantage.
Well, I guess obviously beyond romance, I guess to me it's about human beings. So connecting to human beings, regardless what is the native local languages, everywhere I go around the world, the first action that can demonstrate gratitude, it's to know them and to show them that you're ready to make mistake and mispronounce anything for the intention of showing love and gratitude. And that opened doors. So yeah, obviously that's what happens with French. And I don't like the politics, but I like that human facts, like come with good intentions at people's house, consider and recognize who they are and where they come from. And that's not only for the settler, that's obviously not the idea, but for everyone around. So to me, it's not about the French, it's about the human beings and what they are attached to and how they feel they identify to something. So if they do identify through Putin, then I'll take an effort to understand their love for Putin. And if they are through a certain species of fish, at a certain season, then I'll see how I could connect to that in a different way, you know. But I think it's a beautiful thing to use language as a benevolent connector, and this is something that I really love about bénédiction, which is blessing. I think is there a word for bénédiction?
Benediction. I feel like
Benediction.
benediction is a word, but I don't know its definition offhand.
So benediction, it's a blessing, but in the construction of the word, it's bene, which is good, and diction, which is diction, which is
Say
your
word.
way of speaking. So a benediction, a blessing, is it's your utterance. So it's your way of speaking the world around you. You know, you create magic with your word. So what do you create with your word? You know. So benediction, so blessing, blessing, benediction to everyone. Bendiciones a todos y todas.
That's wildly interesting. Yo, but in my experiences, I work with Ukraine, and honestly, I just needed to say privyet really badly, and they like it. That was enough. It's not even like a lot of words. It's just saying hi. Just learning a hi sometimes is enough to like put a little effort in. I like what you're saying. Super important stuff. And I think it's like, especially as the world becomes more globalized, like in my company at work, there might be like 25 countries represented amongst what 150 people right now, which is wildly cool.
Okay.
It's super Montreal if you think about the multiculturalism of it. But software has a lot of immigration, so it's like you kind of realize right quick that like there is just a lot of cultures, and it's just way cooler to learn about them. Like I learned so much about Mumbai just because there's so many people from it. And it's cool. Like you're like, say word, Mumbai sounds awesome. It's apparently way cleaner than Montreal. You know, just shit like that. It's like nifty to learn. Anyhow, um,
100%. I'm with you. And to me, this is humans. Human connect through dialogue and communication. And to me, art always been the way to communicate. And I think to do the full circle, we're speaking of my entrance into fashion or clothing. Well, my mom, because she was creating everything, she was bringing me at 4, 5, 6, 8 years old to the store to choose my fabrics and the what I wanted to look like. You know, she was creating her own patterns and everything. So I guess from then I was already kind of different. When I was in school with my favorite cartoon embroidery by my mom in the front and my name in the back of my pants, I'm different, you know? So I kind of always wanted to keep that difference alive and present, you know? So I think I'm in a place where in my life now that I feel good about my capacity to be fly without having logos or the less logos possible, and to give that money into the hands of a real artist and someone that is really crafty and invested and not a multi-billion corporate fashion industry, but really to actual people that create unique pieces that I could wear like if I was me myself, a gallery walking with art
shit.
piece as clothes draping me. But I guess that's the megalomania or the the amplitude, the size and the scale of how I see creativity, creation, and the artist and the role of the artist. We need to be different. We need to be difference.
Honestly, I love everything you're saying, and I mean, for me, like a lot of this show is to bow out in ignorance. It's part of why I started talking to people, and then I got blessed to link up at end of the week and start going through the New York City version of this, which in a lot of ways taught me a lot about, I guess, just a completely different way of living. Because New York City and Montreal they're not the same vibe. But I didn't know how important fashion was and style was to so many people. Because for me, it was never really like the most important thing. But then you start looking around and noticing it, and one of the things about you that has always stood out across all your media has been like the fashion elements that you bring in. And if you think about what's really important in New York, it's often distinction. It's first and only. Like you kind of want to have the only version of that shit that you can get, or at least the fewest number of people can get it too. And in a sense, you've managed to take that and bring it again to a masterful level of like, because you have an
Wow.
iconic style. Like, you can put on your 2009 music videos and maybe it's more calmer. It's still stylistically similar. Or the way the hood's up. The hood is always up, or some shit like, or often up. These are little things that you're almost like an avatar in a video game. And I think it's important because there's
Wow.
a lot of connections between hip hop, wrestling, comic books, and a lot of these things. And so, in a
Mm-hmm.
sense, like, it's almost like you try to create the best version of yourself through the artist and put that out into the world. Like, you try to, on camera, I'm trying to be the ideal in my head of who I am. It's not fully who I am, and I try to bridge that gap every day. And so I feel like that's kind of like a way to take it to the next level. So when I see like what you're saying, and then you're like, I'm like, say a word. Why have I never thought to like find a person who makes clothes I know and offer them $40 to see what they, you know what I'm saying? I'm sure there's somebody that'll be like, yo, just cover the fabrics. I just want to do it. Like, those motherfuckers be all over
Yeah,
that, man.
or just, but even we're already doing it. When you choose your glasses, when you choose your what you're wearing, it's just that there's different reality about fashion in different part of the world. You know, like the way I'm dressing right now. If I'm dressing like all out like this, it may put me in danger in certain situation in Mexico. The way I
Mm.
travel in Mexico, there's a certain moment where I can be like my full explosive artist vibe, but there's other places. This is the reason why 98% of the men are all dressed in all black, because no one want to be outside of the crowd to be targeted by all of the fucked upery that is happening, you know? So to
Yeah.
me, it's also a cry of freedom and a privilege to be able to dress the way I'm dressing. So I don't take it for granted. I take it with a philosophical approach to it, you know, and an economical approach to it. There's obviously a stylistic approach to it, but it's not the only style. Economically, I feel it's the best place to put my money in, you know?
I'm all about, I like symbolism. Anything that means something that can lead it. And the more things you can pack into a meaning, more I like that. And the fact that you go that deep with it, it like, it's cool. I feel like the world needs people to think that deeply about things. Because, you know, sometimes you even feel within yourself you're thinking deep, and then you hear some shit like that and you're like, fuck me, I have to think different about clothing. Why? Because Monk.E put it out there. And how could I go back after that? Like, that's the kind of person I try to be. I don't know exactly how it
Well,
manifests,
well,
but
I
like,
think it's a good thing, and not in the way of copying, but in the way of opening eyes to other possibilities. This is what artists have made for me all my life. All of the rappers, they've told stories that help me conceive how you can tell a story, you know? So I feel you. I try to live my life, and I do hope that I'm living my life like this also, you know? Every conversation, every trip is an opportunity to be a life-changing moment. If you're listening enough and if you're present enough, it will change your life, you know? So I'm with you on that. 100%.
alright, so let's run it back to like 2003 ish. You said five,
Mm.
whatever that era. So you're kind of at that point really ingratiating into the early scene. I guess that's like when the English scene starts to come to life a bit more too. Um,
At this point, there's a group. Have you heard of Nine Majesty?
I think I've heard the name, but you should probably just run who they are still.
So Nine Majesty was kind of like a Wu-Tang crew with Low Pesci, Apocalyptic,
I know what the fuck
um,
this is because somebody sent me their fucking project. I fucking swear I listened to this
Narcissist, D
project.
Shade.
I listened to their 2003 or 5 project like fucking 2 weeks ago. Cause
I think it's 2005 or 4, 2004 or something.
so I do know what this is. That's what. Okay, wow, that's context. That's wild. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
So Watson was maybe Watson because he was making music with Lowe's. And I was starting to make music with Watson and being produced my beats by Lowe's. So I was kind of like the side French act beside what Nine Majesty was doing in English, right? And um, and then that's it. We recorded Le Remedium, on which maybe Watson has like 6 featuring or something. And on Remedium, you could already see Nine Majesty. You know, Apocalyptic is making a lot of the beats. Narcissist is on 2 songs, I think. Lowe's is producing most of the beats. Um, so you could already see who I'm hanging out with. You know, Watson has like 6 featuring. I think Jam is there. I think Filigrane has a verse on there. I think when Le Remedium came out, we have the track Notre Genèse, like our Genesis, and I invited a lot of these influent brothers to come share on this album. So Le Remedium, I feel was to me it was special because it was more than me. You know, I was helped. It was the time of a new generation. I feel there was kind of like a low tie, you know, in rap cab at a certain time. And I feel not me necessarily, but my wave, the Corias of this world, the Ken Lowe's, the maybe Watson, the I don't know, you can see them there on the album. But I felt there was that new thing coming up, you know. Um, yeah, so I guess that's Le Remedium came out in 2005. Um, and I still hear about it. I think it was a good album. I think aesthetically some stuff we're missing as far as the music itself, but I think the content and the purpose is still super relevant. Like 15 years later, 16 years later. Um,
How
I had
do
a song called Esprit de Combat, which is amazing because it fits with the story I'm telling you. And Esprit de Combat was done with Kamikaze, right? Like Yamakasi type of. They were called Fast Motion. They were a crew of extreme sport stuntsmen. And Mathieu Ledoux, which was the brother I left Drummondville with, that was his crew. So my first single as a music that was shown on Music Plus and all of this at the time, it was super hard to be on television. Well, they showed my music. I think it's Malik Shahid. He actually played my music back then at the hip hop, and it was Esprit de Combat, which is produced by Stack Money, amazing producer. We could speak about him at a later moment. Yeah, that's that time, 2005, Esprit de Combat. Big shout out to everyone.
Man, you're basically out there. You're on Music Plus. You're pushing, involved in giant projects. You're doing all kinds of stuff while I'm in high school. Like it's wild to me to hear that. Like for real. Like for me, it's like everything y'all did basically creates like a lane that allows me to be here today. You're all like part of that, you know. So like there's a lot of gratitude because I don't get to sit here and be in this scene and rap with you in an alleyway a couple of weeks back if it isn't for all the shit that y'all doing over here, which leads to a lot of that stuff that explodes in like 2008, 12, etc. You know, like, so yo, it's huge, you know.
It is. I feel it's huge. I feel it's shown that it's huge. I think Loud the rapper, like I think he's an example. The success that he's having, he's from that generation. He's like a little bit after me in his slice of generation, but he's like kind of the same wave. You know, we were all rapping kind of together in the same circles, but it made us, you know. So I don't know. I feel proud of it. I feel proud of the choice I made, where I'm at. Like I'm an OG now, and I feel I'm not like a resentful or bitter OG. I'm actually a proud, hyperactive OG, and I do believe I remain relevant because of the new generations. You know, like because what we're talking about. You're saying you were in high school. I was 23, so I was still young, and I was already producing I was because it's one thing to be an artist, but it's another thing to be produced. You know, like when I mean, like being on a label, I didn't have any labels. I was 23 and I was funding all of my project, all of my studio, all of my masterings, printing all the copies, and I was all funding this already at that time through my paintings. Since I'm 17, I'm making my funds and my money with my paintings. When I was 19, this is when I stopped working on the south shore of Longueuil and I start traveling. When I was 19, I
Oh,
went
tell
to
us about
Brazil.
this. How'd you do that?
I went to Brazil. I was invited to be part. I was painting at Cafe Graffiti. Cafe Graffiti were asked to do a selection of 7 Quebecois artists to go represent graffiti at in Brazil, in Sao Paulo, Brazil. And they selected me. I was the youngest of the selection, and my employer didn't want to give me my days off, my weeks off. So I quit the job, and I never had a work outside of being myself, the the owner, and I don't know, and
So you go to Brazil at
yeah.
17 to paint.
I was at that time, no, no, at that time I was 19.
Okay, nice.
At that time I was 19.
Okay, it's
I
still
was
crazy
already
how.
in Longueuil for the past 2 years. And then I get selected to go there. And I'm 19, I'm going there. I come back, I don't have work. And I start hustling a bit more. Since I'm 17, I already make side money with graffiti. But now at 19, I say, okay, it's my full job. Let me make music and make paintings as a full job. And yeah, I never stopped. And to me, that in itself speaks louder than the small amount of views that I may get in streaming, because it's in the people, it's in the culture, it's in the intertwining of our experience and my generations.
But I think something I heard you say that was super interesting on the Glock Party podcast was that there was this realization or something, or maybe I'm remembering it in not perfect wording, but you kind of realized that you had to make the money to create the art that you want to retain autonomous. So in a sense, if the music maybe wasn't going to pay you right, there had to be things coming in that like kind of just solidified your autonomy. In which case, the artwork worked out for you for that. It's a lot of why I kept my day job because I can kind of do what I want with art because that's how I pay for it. Like, so to me, it's like, it's super interesting that you approach it like that and that you were like able to kind of make that connection, but to just do it off of art entirely is fucking gangster because that's like a level of like I don't know. I guess there's like that. There's a chord to like having a job where there is that stability and you can do a lot. But then I think about your life and a lot of the adventures you got up to, and it's like, nah, maybe there's something more to like the not having a job version of this and figuring out how to actually make the money off of that version of it.
I do believe our lives are intersection, and to risk you choose prudence and risk at different timing, and that's how you get what you get of your investment.
Hmm.
And I chose a lot of time risk. I was all in on my life. So I guess it's a cyclical leap of faith. You are asked, is it really the life you want? You receive a death threat for no reason. People cross your mural and write 187 will kill you, whatever it is. Someone diss you in a battle rap, or you don't get chosen for the album you wanted to be, whatever it is, man. I do believe it's this is what strengthened me. It's just to jump every time. And I hurt myself, I made mistakes, but at least I was playing, I was in there, involved in publishing, publishing philosophy, publishing uh, criticism of the world, publishing alternative knowledge, publishing gratitude and good vibes, publishing colors and proportions and shapes. Um, so yeah, I started early. It was important for me. That's what I wanted to do in life. So at 19, for me, it was like, I can't take this anymore. I need to produce art 7 days a week, not 2 days a week, 7 days a week. So that's it. And I knew at that point I was magnetizing enough attention and I had enough knowledge of my capacity and my talent that I was not scared. I was actually, yes, my dream life is starting. And it's also because I came from not having. I came from couch surfing as a teenager. So I didn't have anything. I didn't need anything. I could continue to couch surf while I was hustling for my dreams. So I was living the dream life, bro. I was painting how much, and I was able to make enough money to have free time to just do what I wanted. And then the hustle became, now I need to be so strong and famous and known and respected and wanted that people don't want to have an illustrated idea with my skills, but of their idea. But they love my mind so much that now they're paying to have my ideas with my artistic aesthetic as an art piece that they invest money and time to keep and to protect, you know. So that's what the hustle became at that time. 19 years old, 20 years old, I was still painting dolphins and fake gardens and back houses to help for the birthday of some, but it was not necessarily all the time invested with my soul. And that became to annoy me. So at one point I decided to go away from these immediate contract and search for more representative opportunities for my soul to be always fully present, for my clothing style to be always present, for my beard and long hair to be always present, for my honesty and faithfulness to be always present. Like for so these became priorities. And as an artist, you have a lot of leniency to recreate and to create and to defend your identity. Well, as a pawn or as someone more into a frame and a box, you have to respect that box. My box is breaking the box. So that's what I have to do all my life, to be that person who is counter current, still trendy, but counter trend. All of these things we need to develop. So to me, it became a research to become this at least once before I die, to be that print of truthfulness and honesty and work and investment and spirit. And I would say what I call godly, or what I call the breath of life, to kind of choose me as a channel to do a fingerprint of itself in my generation, in my culture, in my community, in my surrounding, in my virtual publication.
It's wildly entertaining to listen to you talk, but you also get the sense of I can be whatever the fuck I want to be. Every time I hear you go on to Brazil, and I'm like,
yeah, that was earlier. Brazil was like,
I know,
there's
but that
something
kind of
that
got
happened
introduced
also.
after. So yeah, I just
There's
wanted
so
to go
many
back to
things that
that.
happened.
What's Brazil like?
To which part?
Yo,
Brazil.
Yeah, what's that like?
It was mind blowing. That's also what gave me the confidence. Like my leap of faith was rewarded. I was around 300 artists from around the world in Brazil, and I was chosen to be on a second wall who was only gathering maybe 30 of the 300 artists. And they selected me to be on that second wall. And then there's a group that selected me to host me for an art residency in Rio de Janeiro. So my trip was extended. I felt love. I felt appreciated. I felt like the best artist in the world. I felt really like there was a future for me, you know. And Brazil was chaotic. Sao Paulo was chaotic. That was my first deep connection with tropical poverty, with the third world, like the immediate, impressive, like I'm scared of my neighbor type of vibe. And it was deep also. One of the things that really touched me is how people didn't care about the North American standards of art. Like they were doing graffiti with rollers instead of using spray paint. They were doing roller graffiti, and they didn't care. They were doing it with so much pride and knowledge that they were the shit. You know, they were not like, oh, we are inferior because no. They had like that confidence that made Brazilian graffiti so popular. You know, one of the style of calligraphy that I use is still influenced by Brazilian graffiti, and it's called pichação. It's written Pixacao, like Pixacao, but it's Portuguese and it's pronounced pichação. And it's an amazing style of calligraphy that I still use nowadays. But Brazil was crazy. What can I say? Like it became my adrenaline rush. Travel. Since that day, I did 71 international travel. So it became my lifestyle. It became my everything.
Oh, that's fucking like it's wildly interesting to hear you talk about it. I'm just like, shit, man. Going to Brazil at 19 to paint a bunch of walls. Then he's talking about how like there's different styles of graffiti around the world, which is another thing I never really think about. So I'm just kind of like, yo, the amount of stuff to like Google after this interview for me is already huge, which is good. This is a blessing. But yeah, no. So you do that trip, and does that keep happening? Like, are you still involved in that after, or is that like a
Okay,
one-time thing?
so that's what happened after. While I'm doing all of these things, community painting, doing all of these things, well, I start create kind of hip hop gatherings, ciphers, hip hop ciphers in Saint Michel, Quartier Saint Michel, and there is a group that is being created by Cirque du Soleil, which is established in Saint Michel, and they create a group of 5 musicians to represent a bit urbanity of hip hop, and they create in 6 countries. They do the same thing. So there's 6 group of 5 young 20 years old artists that are meeting in Australia for a show from Cirque du Soleil. So we were kind of coached to do a tour there, and I was selected, and it's a group that we called Amerithm, Rhythm, like Americas but with rhythm inside. And it's me, Stack Money, who produced Esprit de Combat and my first single. He was a producer that was producing for Sans Pression and people like this, but he was also a pillar of Montreal graffiti. So for me to have him as the DJ and producer of this band, I could go do graffiti with him also. So that was the idea. There's also an amazing singer called Esmeralda, also known as Sola, from Peru. So she was representing South America. And then a brother and a sister called Baby K and Chile that were from El Salvador. And us 5 were selected to go to Australia, which was my second professional trip in my life. And also my second full studio album, which was Amerithm, that I did with them, that came out, I think, in 2006. So we're still in these years. But the trip to Australia with Cirque du Soleil was in 2004, just before I did my first album, Le Remedium. And then I pushed Le Remedium. In 2006, I started doing my back and forth in France. So I went to tour in France. I recorded a project called Tour de France with 7D and maybe Watson, and 13 different featuring in different cities of France that I went and recorded there, not over studios, internet, or none of that stuff. And that's it. So 2006 was that. And also a group called Nomadic Massive. I don't know if you know them.
I've heard that name before.
Nomadic Massive, they're still active, and they are a pillar of Montreal, and they are a beautiful example of our diversity, uh, musically, culturally, philosophically even. But they are kind of like big brothers and big sisters. Like they were already making events happen. They're maybe like 3 years older than me, but it's kind of significant when you're 23, like they're 26, 27, they're already having thing more on lock. So they were a lot my example on how to move at that time. And I went with them in 2006 at the La Havana Hip Hop Symposium, which was the hip hop festival of La Havana in Cuba. So 2006 was already two trip in the same year. I was already recording,
Yo, I
finishing.
feel like of everyone I've talked to, you have clocked the most traveling at this point in your life.
It's possible, but it's not even the objective. To me, the objective is I'm probably going to be one of the human that has published the most as far as all of my medium included. Hopefully, God willing, inshallah, I produce good work and not just quantity, but hopefully I also have good qualities. And I think I do, even if we always have to be better and upgrade, you know?
Yeah.
But
But I think the traveling probably
the
helps.
traveling is everything, bro.
And then
I
like
miss traveling. I'm gonna
the
start crying now. It's the longest I've been um, deprived of my nomadicity. It's in the last 10 months. So I'm going back on the road. I'm leaving soon, and I miss traveling. It's an entire part of who I am, and I feel deprived from a part of myself right now.
I can definitely empathize with the sentiment of that, but I guess I was going with it like I think it helps kind of keep with the relevancy that is Monk.E. Like you are interesting. I have not heard a person say your name and not get that same level of like he's an interesting guy. Never negative. Always just like mesmerized by the character in a sense. Not to say that it's like fake, but like you said, it's like to take your artistic self and blend it with your real self as much as possible to like create this essence of who you are.
Let's go. Let's go.
And so like
Let's go.
honestly, man, it's just fucking inspiring. And then I gauge a lot based on how people speak about people, right? Like, cause it's the more interesting parts than how people speak about themselves. But like, yo, I ain't ever heard a person put dirt on it. Everybody knows Monk.E does his thing. Like, if you were a primarily English MC, it would be Damage on this side of the scene.
Wow. Well, I would say I have a different experience, and often it's crazy, but maybe this thing is having us all paranoid, or I don't know, but I often feel that one bad comment or one uh, conflictual encounter is representative of collective deeper feelings sometimes. Sometimes I feel I'm not for everybody. I think that's the thing. And that is not negative. That is
Not in the
okay. It's
least.
okay to not, I'm not for everybody. I'm different. Like there's certain type of food that are peculiar. People that love that type of food, they really love a lot that type of food. But if you haven't been, maybe it's not for you, you know? So I know that, but why would you talk shit against that meal or that type of gastronomy, right? That's where I think it's hard. I know there's haters, but I think it's also a blessing, bro. It means we're moving things. And that's what I said earlier. As an artist, I need to try to break boxes at least
But
a bit, you know? So
I definitely think a
there's
lot
no,
of haterism stems from jealousy, right? To me, that's the real mark of being a hater. There has to be this component of jealousy attached to it. And there is, if you're feeling insecure in your life, much to be jealous of Monk.E's successes. Not in a negative way, but because you have done so much that's impressive. Like I watch you do mural after mural. I watch you perform at things. I watch you get like crazy things. Yo, the way Olivier Bro speaks about you, bro, like I don't think he speaks about that about many people on earth, right? Like these are
some,
cosigns that are like fucking you know, at the end of the day you're looking at it like
uh,
you're sitting there going like, either you're gonna be like, how do I be like more like Monk.E, or maybe if you're not feeling the same energies in life, you're gonna be like, fuck Monk.E.
exactly. And it
But
happens too. Sometimes we're allergic to certain things, you know? But hey, life is beautiful because there's a lot of diversity. You're not forced to like, you know, those people, I would say, those people that are watching this, they have an interest, you know, in me. And the love is mutual. The reason why I'm cool is because of who's around me. You know, that's one thing that I stopped. Maybe it's outside of the topic, but
I go it,
I
run it.
felt sometimes you don't know how to take compliment or you don't know how to. be humble. You know, humility has been a huge challenge all my life. How are you confident and out there but remain humble? It has been a challenge all my life. I've failed many times in finding the proper place to state my philosophy and to affirm who I was and to actually be a pest and be a destroyer, you know. But I do believe that there's false modesty in me saying that I'm not awesome. So I'm not saying that I'm not awesome. I know that I am awesome. But the thing that me being awesome is not because of me. And it's the reason why I can't pretend I don't know I'm awesome is because of the quantity and the density of awesome people that are around me. Look at all the featurings on my album. Look at all the collaborations on the walls I paint. Look at all these people. If I cannot recognize that I'm awesome, then I'm disrespecting their awesomeness, you know? So I do
Ooh.
believe we are awesome. I do believe we are awesome and we are doing awesome things. All of us around that we are proactive, getting better, getting more technical, learning new ways. I think we are the truth. I think we are the future, the present. And if we stay connected to the past, then we are authenticity and avant garde. And that's what I want to be. That's what I want to become. I want to become a walking avant garde channel of pure creativity in all medium that I will touch. And this is ambitious. And maybe I will not reach the peak I want to reach, or maybe I'll reach further. But I love to throw myself in a precise direction like this and work to achieve my objective and manifest my visions to have them tangible in my life, you know? Like my network. That is awesome. Like you and your show and and the people that are listening. You know, I know some people in the chat or after that when we'll share parts of this is because they have an interest. And me, all what I'm sharing is the collectivity of conversation and dialogue I had with my creator through the amazing and awesome human being that was presented through my journey, invested in newness and traveling and art and painting and poetry. So yeah, man. And I mean, at that point, it was kind of like the breakthrough point, you know, 2005, 2006, 2007. Maybe it was somehow my peak. Maybe later on in the future, we'll say it was some sort of one of my peak, you know, but it was definitely um, an energy that a lot of people speak to me about. You know, that energy, that part of my journey impacted a lot of people.
Yeah, I can see how it could be perceived as a peak, but that to me, I feel like I don't know, man. 40s look like that's when the baller shit happens. Like everybody's like greatest era is in their 40s when you're like really running your shit. Maybe after your 40s, fine. Your body starts to give up on you. It's not exactly the same thing. But I feel like nah, the best years are still to come. That's something that's got because I'm a better artist than I used to be. I don't know if I'm a better rapper than I used to be, but I'm fucking better as an artist. I'm like I live better.
And
My priorities are better. Like yo, health matters now. I remember when health didn't matter. Now health's important. You know, like shit allows me to think stronger, dream bigger, and achieve greater things just because I'm getting older. So I feel like as long as you keep the health part in order, you can achieve great things forever. Well, until you
I'm
can.
with you. I even like my vision, we define our reality, and I'm painting for my reality to have my best and most potent and memorable work to be the last work I'll produce. Because I'll be able to paint, I'll be able to do poetry, even if I can't interpret or paint them myself. The intellectual vision is what gives heart to the great artist. So I will be able to still create and invent things that will shape and impact reality of others. And I'm looking forward every day of my life. I don't look at my peaks as only nostalgia. There are also lessons. I do believe the album I'm going to publish now is probably my best musical project in my life. So I feel I feel good about uh, growing even now. Like to me, yeah. So, but there's a lot still happening. That's a lot that happened between 2007 and now. There's a lot that happened, but I do believe it was a beginning of that cycle of traveling the world, meeting people. There was one big event that kind of add a parenthesis and a pause into traveling. I stopped traveling for about 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
What happened?
I we uh, we were a group of thinkers, and we enjoyed doing philosophies and research and poetry and spoken word events, and we bought a library uh, in
You bought a
Saint
library?
Henri.
Like a library?
In Saint Henri, I think so, like where they sell books.
Oh, okay, a bookstore.
Sorry, a bookstore.
So yeah, library would
So
be like where you borrow the books and then bring
yeah,
them back.
no. Well, so we got this bookstore and transformed it into a library where we were doing free spoken word shows, think tanks, food gatherings, painting gatherings. It was called OCL. And I spent a couple of years of my life being deeply invested in learning laws and politics and the Bible and Hebrew and ancient Greeks and philosophies and history and genealogical tree, and like just being into knowledge of self, knowing how the Constitution is made, knowing how the laws work, knowing how justice is understood, knowing who I am into all of this, knowing who my ancestors are, um, knowing who my neighbors are. So really knowing self. And into those years, I was really disciplined in a lot of areas of my life. Um, so I stopped traveling for those years.
I mean, you just described one of the coolest things I ever heard of that I didn't know could be done. Cause yo man, I read all those books. They're not just there. Like bookstore shit is wildly cool to me. Reading books and shit, that's my jam right now. And the idea of combining that with everything else I love and encouraging cause to me reading is like wildly underrated. Like it's not an audio book. It's not. There's something, and I'm really into the physical word on page. I don't even. It's honestly like I am pro technology until we talk books, and then for some reason I can't give up the paper. And it's like that's the only reason my life changed. Because it wasn't just like the body shit. It was those books, man. I just crammed knowledge into my head, and it changed everything. Because you start to like understand how the laws work and justice, and you just then it's like you know what it really changes is the sensationalism of media doesn't slap the same. You're just like, nah, that don't make no sense because of, and you have these examples in your mind to kind of like, I guess, fight back against the conditioning that goes on via media sources and other
100%.
shit. Like
Preach, preach, preach,
I had this like
preach.
real experience that like fucked me up for a second. I was at the elliptical at the gym it was 2016. It was right around the Flint, Michigan shit, and Obama was speaking every day at lunch, and there was no word, there was no sound. It was just the transcript of Obama talking every day at lunch while I'm working out. That guy speaks a lot of fluff, is what I learned. Like he doesn't say a lot when you read Obama talking at lunch while you're working out, and it's like this kind of shit changes me because you hear him talk, and it's like wow. You read his words, and you're like, yo, that speechwriter is so. It's like those like ads on YouTube when dude's trying to tell you how to spit game for 45 minutes. That's what it felt like after a while. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's why to me reading is like the shit. And the idea of a bookstore where I didn't even know that's possible. Like,
Well, actually, let me bring you into a phase we were speaking on earlier. But we were speaking on me when I was 16, traveling with my bigger bros. And one of the tape that really marked me was the Black Star album of Talib Kweli and Mos Def. And Oh, why am I saying all of this? We're talking of,
Bookstores and
yes, thank you. Well, what did they do after their album with the money of the album?
I do not know.
Well, you do know. You just said it.
They put in the bookstores.
Exactly. That's what Most Def and Talib Kweli, I think in Brooklyn or somewhere in New York, they bought a bookstore. So to me, in my imaginary, it was something that was possible. That was even the biggest flex. Instead of buying a car
Bro, that
or a
is a
chain,
flex.
no, but no, not in the idea of being a superficial way to
No,
flex on something,
I'm
but it's
saying
just a way to
it's so
to
cool. Like to me, the idea, to me, the idea of cultivating a space to encourage reading in a doper way than 99% of the way they do. Because like Coles and chapters is just doesn't make me want to pick up a book. There are better vibes that could exist to make me really want to pick up a book. Is all I'm saying. So I contribute to that is actually really cool. But anyway, to me, like that's a flex. It's like to create culture, to create a vibe, to create like a
the
space.
host culture. Yeah, the host culture to be a housing.
Fair enough.
I felt like this. I felt like this. No, I'm just talking about me. If I can translate that for me, that would be that. But you know how I was talking of how hip hop answered a lot of things in my life. Well, at that moment, um, these project and ideas and fights and wisdom and knowledge exchanges, they, they were everything. They are still. I'm still digesting the depth of how deep our lives are, you know? Like to me, this is a moment where I peaked. Spiritually, I would say that probably was my spiritual peak. It was the moment where all my life was dedicated to the spirit. Now I live in Babylon. I still pay taxes, go through the process of being a citizen, right? But once you take yourself out of the city or out of a certain context, I think you can regain a certain peace of mind. And I guess those books, that community, those poetry events, like consciousness, people that share a frequency and a vibrance, it's like you don't feel alone, you feel connected, you feel hosted too. Even if you're at home, if you have someone that bring you the best poem, you feel that this poem is giving you a housing, is giving you a roof to your consciousness, to your identity, to your being. So I'm really, really grateful for these moments, for people that were involved, for the teachers that were involved in these moments. Um, yeah, beauty, beauty, beauty. So I would say then after that, it was like 2010. Then I started traveling again. And then I took back a pace of traveling a lot and a lot more to Mexico, a lot. I've been like 18 times to Mexico, seen more than half of the states of the 32 states in Mexico. I've painted there, I did music there. So Mexico became a geographical housing for me too, you know.
Right.
Just like I can't only build on one medium, I cannot only build in one city. I need to have these other pool of collaborators that I'm learning from, you know. I'm having a really, really important exhibition soon. Like there's a lot of really important things that are happening soon. I feel I've been publishing my paintings and my regular stuff, but there's a lot of things that I've been organizing on a long term that are happening soon, that are going to synchronize soon. And I'm having a solo exhibition, and there's a lot of there's news I can't say now, but soon I'll be able to announce one of the most important collaboration of my life, which I would say the most important collaboration of my life for my solo exhibition. But I'm going to show some exclusive piece that I'm going to be exhibiting there if you
What?
want to.
Of course we want.
Are you down? I
Yes.
just need to I just need to see how I turn the camera from one side to the other. This, I think.
You did.
Yes.
Oh shit. That's cool.
This is Seas Rock.
Say word. I mean, I know the name more than I would recognize him. Wow. You're like wildly talented.
Thanks, my brother.
I was just watching the Bob Ross shit on documentary too, so my brain's in painting mode more than not. But that's like next level shit. Like in the versatility and just the like all the murals and stuff and like yo, I don't know, man. You're just good. You're just amazing at what you do in this like I don't know what to say about art shit, but it looks cool and it makes me want to look at it.
So what do you want to talk about, man? Are we done? Are we talking about something else? Let me know.
I mean, we could keep going. It's up. I'm always like kind of gauge it like that. I mean, to me, like you still in like the 2010ish, and you still like this decade of your life that happened.
Oh, so let's talk about. I don't know. There's so many things, bro. I don't know.
And that's the other side is there's so many things, but I don't know any of them really.
Well, I have like 21 albums, like collaborative albums, solo albums. Um, every year for the past 20 years, I've published an album. This year is the first year I didn't. So I have those two new albums in my pocket. So I have like 19 albums out. But
So we definitely
I
have
don't
a
know. What do you,
couple of questions from the audience.
okay, let's go. That's good.
Do you make your own album art?
My own what? Sorry.
Like album art, like for your music?
That's the thing. I've been part of like 19 album that I've co-produced or produced, and I have my face on zero of my cover albums. To me, I never wanted to put my face as I thought it was vain to try to push my face. I felt that my art, my visual art, was more communicative than a portrait of my face. So all of my covers are my paintings. I've painted all of my covers, or it's a photography I took, but it's never a portrait of my face. I think the closest to a portrait of my face would be on Le Remedium, my first album. I painted myself with a gas mask uh, in on the cover, so you could see myself there painting. But I was never me like on the cover.
That's
To me,
cool.
it's part of my branding. It's important
Your album
that I
covers are super
conceptualize and
good.
and paint. And let's see. This is for the new album. That's what I'm working on. So I'm into oil painting these days.
Yo,
So it's called the Invincible Colors, and it's the sequel to um, Imperial Gray.
yo, that's so cool. Yo, what's your favorite way to make art?
Oh, I was I'm not sure. Tell me more about your question.
Yeah,
Like
Bonnie, what? Be more specific in your question. There's still a couple other
like
questions for sure.
is it like a medium it's being asked, or a mind state,
Let's
or
go with like within the realms of painting.
okay. What is the question then?
I guess what's your favorite way to paint in terms of
Hmm.
like painting
Uh,
options? I don't know how to ask it more technically.
okay, maybe it's a cliche and it's sad, but my first thought was like high. So I like to smoke herb. I
That's an
don't, I
amazing
don't, con
way.
I don't consume really like entertainment drugs. I'm not into these things really, but I'm a daily smoker. So I prefer when I could freely smoke while painting instead of having to go out or
Yo, I
not.
fucks with that.
So yeah, so if I could smoke backstage, it's better than if I can't smoke at all. But maybe that's a bit too ghetto. I don't know, but that's the
No,
first thought I had. It's that I love to be high. I love to smoke while taking my decisions, and
I love the way you answered that. I'm not gonna lie. I stopped going places to record and built it here so I could record here and smoke in the
Oh,
room.
that's fresh.
I
That's
mean,
good, bro.
I mean, even this. Once I started smoking weed during my content, I was like, I like doing it longer now. It wasn't as fun. It was a different vibe, and then it just got more relaxed. But yeah, I guess the question is better defined as in both painting, mural, and also all kinds of art. If you had to choose like one, I guess, format of delivery of expression amongst your tentacles, which tentacle is your favorite tentacle?
I would say I can't answer that. My best way to answer that would be the best way would be an hybrid and inter collaboration of all of the tentacles dancing to the same beat. So I created an album called Couronne à double tranchant, which is double-edged crown, and it was 12 poem, 12 song, 12 art piece. So my favorite way of creating, it's that way. It's when many medium come together to be one medium, one idea, one concept, one channel with all of these different branches. So I would say that's what I prefer when all of my tentacles are welcome in a project.
Yeah, that's super nifty. I like the like conclusivity of it all. Um, I'm supposed to ask you about an Ooderwader.
Ooderwader, bro. Who asked? Who asked? Is
Mark the
it
Mag.
magnanimous?
Yeah, he's been here the whole time too. He's like been
Wow.
riding with me since like 6:20 or so. So like,
Amazing. Well, let me give flowers to Mark the Magnanimous. I think to me he's actually part of one of the things that I want to he's going to be DJing from one of my most important gigs ever. And it's not important in size, but it's important in meaningfulness. Um, well, actually, I can say it. The first part of it, I cannot talk about the entirety of the
okay,
project and the collaboration, but part of the collaboration that has been confirmed is that I'll be doing a 3 hour live painting and 1 hour musical poetry set with Mark the Magnanimous for the Salvador Dali exhibition in the Old Port.
fuck, wow, that's wild.
So to me, that's super wild. To me, it is
Wow.
amazing, and it seems to be growing. The collaboration will extend to something else, which is even a step more amazing. But
Yo, see, Monkey, this is the type of shit I'm talking about. Like, I'm sitting here trying to like figure out whatever, whatever. And Monkey be like, bro, I'm in high fine art pieces with Mark the Magnanimous, fucking busting Dolly. Like, yo, that's wildly cool. But yo, the other side of it is if you listen to like a lot of people's stories, there's always that person doing some crazy shit that just ain't been done where you at. That makes a lot of other people do some wild shit that kind of elevates it all. Like seeing you working with institutions and parks, seeing you pop off videos with 5 grand sticker fucking things at the end of them, seeing you do a lot of the things you've done is like wildly cool and inspiring to a lot of people, and it just tells me that like there's no way you peak before that. That's well, I mean maybe in travelings and shit, but that's a hella fucking peak thing for Montreal.
yeah, it is. It is. That's what I'm saying. And that's I always on my road, I always had confirmation that I'm growing. I'm underground. I'm maybe not as known as my accomplishment should reflect, but there's a bigger undertone secret into that. I'm being built for something. What I'm going through is undeniable, even if it's not proclaimed on all the roof. So I'm just going through it. But I would say the Ooderwader
Yeah, I don't know what
that
that is.
Magnanimous was speaking about, the Ooderwader, was actually an important school of thought of my development. It's with Urban Logics. Urban Logics at the studio, the Ooderwader. He was there with the Royal Peasants, and we had a lot of deep talks. And
Okay.
it's together that we got the bookstore. that became OCL, that became a political state in itself. That was the whole idea of it. But mad shout out Ooderwader, all the people that came through Ooderwader and OCL. You have, they are the community that impacted my life. This is where I met all of the Senecal. I was freestyling with Senecal at the Ooderwader, with Seas Rock, with Markings. Um,
Yo, Vincent
I
Price
mean,
says he met you there.
yes, exactly. Shout out to Vincent Price.
Yeah,
Like, and there's plenty of people that I forget because Urban Logic was a pillar in the English rap and in the street life community, you know? So I
shout
met
out
a lot of
Logics.
bosses, a lot of influential people, a lot of people that became the pillar and the stars of our city. They were just like me in their growing stages, you know. Senecal, he's the world champion of end of the week, international world, EOW champion. We were freestyling together, scared of each other's power. We're always freestyling with so much love and empathy because we understood how both gifted we were, and we still are today. But I would say Senecal is just one of the example of the people that highly impacted me there. And
Yo,
and Markings
Senecal.
was there too. This is where I met Markings, not Markings, Magnanimous.
Yeah, that's really
This
cool.
is
I met Senecal for the first time a week ago. Yeah, it was a week ago in the park.
okay.
He came
First
by.
time, huh?
Yeah. Yo, man, you don't even understand. I only started rapping in 2012. And a lot of my career, yeah, it was a weird time to start because it was very transitionary. And apparently, I found out after a lot of the young bucks weren't being cool with the old people, and it created a little divide for a minute. So I'm coming in with the kids because I'm too young for the old people, and by like 2016, I'm like too old for like that shit. But I don't know the things that I should have maybe known at that point. So I just kind of fucking jump on YouTube and migrate into this like pivot, this internet game, which all
Okay.
things considered was a really good gamble for like where things are going in the next decade. But
Mm-hmm.
it did have me almost completely like, yo, I saw event after event after event that would come at like some time where I couldn't go. I had work the next day. And yo, what I learned there, what I've done through work, I even got to travel through work, not like crazy, but I went to Pakistan for a month, right? Like, so like the sacrifices to me were absolutely exactly like the moves to make for my life and whatnot. And but like I wasn't connected to the scene like that. I mean I ended up at like shit like Death House a few times, and like I got to perform a lot at little places. But hip hop karaoke might be like the most highlight of my shit as far as like actually getting involved in something. And then Big Bang Montreal, which is where I meet Mark the Magnanimous. And Big Bang Montreal
Wow.
is like one of the only real like places where like I could go. That, and unfortunately because it was the same day, the fucking one on Crescent next to Brutopia with the fucking Crowbar. So Crowbar had the shit where Jay Uno would bust the sax, and then there was Mark the Mac, and I knew about everything was on Wednesdays, so like you could really just go to like one.
Was
And
it the Mike and Them Lights?
sorry,
Was it called Mike and Them Lights? No, huh?
I don't
It
remember
was
that
on
one.
Thursday. It was at L'Escalier, was it?
It was, I knew about Big Bang Montreal on Wednesdays at okay, so apparently pre Big Bang it was that what you're describing at OCL.
Ah, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so
So
yeah,
same
so
urban
that
logic
shit,
still involved.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yo, what's crazy is, so I'm at hip hop karaoke. It's like 2013, and honestly, that year was blessed. I just kept going back, and all these college kids fuck with me heavy. Um, and then like I met Logics in them, but like it was
Is
Odd Man Black and Logics one time. I met
yes.
those two guys. They were like something.
Blessings.
We'll hit you
Blessings,
up one
blessings.
day, right? So they're like, we'll hit you up one day. A fucking year and a half later, they hit me up. And I'm like, because one day in your mind is like, you forget about it. So we met you at hip hop karaoke this one time. Come through to Big Bang Montreal. We want you to be our feature person and do a 15-minute. And I'm like,
Oh, that's so fresh.
I say a word. And then I kept going back. And like, I got my dude Oscar to come play guitar there sometimes. And it was like, the only environment I've really been in where I was able to convince my fully grown with kids colleagues to come out on a Wednesday was the only environment that I could convince them to come to, because it wasn't so like alcohol party oriented. It was more like, well, let's watch a show kind of oriented. And so like
That's
recently, mostly because of Mark, he just keeps popping up, shout him out. But like that shit for me was like honestly like cool, because at the same time you're also in this environment where nobody's fucking paying attention to you. So you really just have to learn how to perform and like do your thing and like be comfortable with that and just like know that you're just there. And it's almost like it was a vibe. Plus, yo, I couldn't stay past 10:30, 11. So I gotta be there at like 8 something, even before they all fucking show up. So when they put their damn list down, I can be on the first one when I start doing the open mic. It was like a fucking trip of discipline to be able to do that shit, right? Yeah, there were a couple times I did have to dip, you know. But like that's just kind of the grind. And that was
yeah.
it. But I didn't know of like anything else during that like 2014, 15-ish kind of era until it kind of ends up stopping. But like I didn't know of anything else, and maybe that's on me for not doing due diligences. But like, yes, there was stuff like Cipher and a lot of this shit, but it was all at 11. It was all later. I couldn't do it all. So like in that
Yeah.
time frame, man, I'm so grateful about Big Bang Montreal. That was lit. Like I could
Yeah.
just get people. I could bring a girl that, you know, like it was dope.
Yeah. Well, man, what can I say? I already t told you earlier that I feel it was the most meaningful time of my life when we were really exploring ways, together. And I still apply a lot of the lessons that I've learned from that era, that time. I sometimes life takes us through these, not sometimes, every time, I believe life takes us through these unique journeys. And that was part of my journey. That's one of the most impactful part of my journey, which it was like when I met hip hop. That was another confirmation, meeting these people, these consciousness, these vibes, these energies was an answer to a prayer. So there was a sacredness with everything that I've learned through these years.
I
And
had no idea you were involved in that.
yep, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah,
wild.
yeah. I was proudly.
Yes, thank you. Legit. I mean, that was blessed. That helped me get to where I am.
It did for me too, completely, 100%. I'm grateful for it also. A lot, a lot, a lot. And that's it. In 2010, 2011, I came back on my traveling tip. And
So, where are some of the places that are the most interesting places you've traveled?
I would say probably the most beautiful and virgin place as far as the nature would be New Caledonia, which is a small island between Fiji's and Indonesia in the middle of nowhere. I went to l'Île des Pins in that archipel. Archipel, is that how you call it?
Dude, I don't know how to say it either. I know how
Archipelago? Archipel.
Archipelago, Archipelago, Jello. I don't really know how to say it.
Well, this amalgam of islands,
Amalgamation. Anyway, you know
yeah,
what? We go.
that
Bunch of islands
that
close
collect
together.
exactly called New Caledonia. Well, there, I would say I never seen anything pure like this. I mean, everything was so untouched. Like one of the experience, for example, one of the things they do on the weekend, instead of going into a park to chill, they rent motorcycle or one of them as a boat, and they go into unknown desert island. They have like 300 or 400 of them around the main island where there's no house, no constructions there, but you can just park on the sand and choose that island. You bring your drink, your food, your music. So to me, that was a life-changing experience to have my own motorcycle in the water, to go for 40 minutes, go chill on an island, another 20 minutes, go chill on a different island.
And
to
then
see all these fish, these turtles, these sharks.
you
Like,
painted a mural of Vincent Price.
I did.
Yeah, he was telling me about
Yo,
this place. He told me about that earlier today, and I'm like, this place sounds familiar. And then he dropped it again in the chat, but
that's amazing that he was there listening and participating. Man, amazing. I think you deserve it. I'm going to tell you the truth. There's a pool of people that I feel deserve to be painted, but I don't necessarily paint someone because I want to paint him at that moment. The photo that I screenshot, they represent moods that I have. And the photo of him, the portrait, was perfect. So I repainted him there in New Caledonia. And that's because I respect him. That's because I follow his social network. So I saw the picture of his portrait that inspired me, the idea and everything. But this is something that I've decided to do early on, to use Instagram as a pool of information to paint my friends instead of painting people on Google Image. So I go into the pool of photographers and artists around me to create my paintings.
what
And
the fuck?
that's one of the picture that I used, the one of Vincent Price. And I was really proud when I did it because I respect him a lot, and he's from the era of the Ooderwader, and he's really meaningful to the shows that I did, the song that I did, the people that I know now. Like, he's part of that same fabric of intertwine of artists and human beings. So
Yo, Vincent,
I think
this is the type of stuff I was telling you and your girlfriend I hear all the fucking time. Because I just told Vincent, this is what I hear about him in front of his girl. And Vincent, you just got to see it. This is what it is. This is what being your boy is like these days.
so. But that's it. Who else? Is there more question in the chat?
Yeah, do y'all have more questions in the chat? I might have missed
I think
something.
I think I'll peace out if because I'm a bit hungry and thirsty. But if people give me the energy by asking a question or two, then I'll take that moment. But then we will close the exchange.
Understood, man. I appreciate it all. Um, we got to give it a little bit. There's like a 20, 30-second delay before they leave in
I know that's
and receive
perfect,
it.
my bro. There's no stress.
But even with that,
So
like,
yo, big up to you. I'll use this to send you your flowers. Um, I think it's awesome how when human beings fall in love with a similar culture than yours, when they start protecting and archiving a culture that influenced and built you and created you, I have a lot of respect. And you are one of these people. You are a warrior for the things you believe in, the culture, the craft. And I respect that a lot. The growth, we are all diamonds in a rough, and the rough stay there if we don't work it out, sculpt it out. And blessings to you, man, for doing your work to sculpt yourself, to uh, get better, and to big up to you, man. I know it's a level of vulnerability to be an artist and to be a public person and a thinker. So shout out to
yeah,
you, Maji.
yeah, I appreciate that for real. Like, coming from you, it's big, you know? Like, sometimes, like, the words mean more from the different people that say them, you know? The main only question we got, and it was from both CB Mac and Ismail. Who inspires me just to give him his flowers is Ismail. If anybody is there ever to say that nobody buys music, this guy got a job, and his first dedication was to purchase a project from Montreal every Friday. So, like, to me, as much as we do some blessed shit, like, that is the VIP shit.
Yeah,
Because,
this is community stuff. This is investing in the people you believe in, investing in those who sacrifice themselves to speak, and act and dance and produce.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's wonderful, man.
Shout out to Mel.
And basically, their question was, can they buy your merch, and do you have merch?
Well, that's what I do. I always been kind of my game with making a good amount of money with my painting. It always became kind of uninteresting for me to sell a $10 CD That's why I still printed my CD, but I never hustled my CD. They were more gift and exchanged and way to connect bridges when I was traveling to give to people. My idea was always more to sell bigger thing. You know, at one point at the beginning of my life, I was not selling any services under $300. So anything under that, I was producing and creating for free if I wanted to be part of it. But I was not creating $50 t-shirts or um, so. And to this day, that's been kind of a mentality, bro. I get paid like five numbers on murals, right? So it's hard after that to develop a strategy to go have 4 cents every time your song is streamed, right? It's like it's a lot of work and a lot of fucking investment for something small. While in my painting, the investment is immediate. I can make a pure gold like this because it exists. It's in my hand. Like if it touched someone, they could buy it and own it. So there's a value to it. You cannot own a song, someone else.
No,
So
it's way
the
more.
hustle is different.
It's
So
super different.
I'm grateful. Kiaris once said something. Kiaris once said the main way to have your music as authentic as possible is for it to not be your main income. And because you won't make compromise to keep paying for your bills, you'll just keep on saying the things you need to say, knowing that you pay bills with something else, a different hustle.
Facts.
So I don't have a lot of small thing to sell. My derived product are unique pieces of art like these, and most of my work is sold in the four numbers now. So I don't have small investment. I have like big pieces and meaningful pieces that you could get for a new house or for a new job or a new accomplishment, or you want to celebrate someone who passed away, or you want
Bro,
to
it's like
remember someone, or
I
these
don't
are more
know.
the things that I produced. But I don't really have my music is on Bandcamp. My paintings are all on Instagrams, and you could Google them. I even have a book. I could send a PDF to anyone interested in reading the
I
book that I
want to
wrote.
read your book.
I'll send it to you, and maybe we'll have a new interview only based on the book.
I would do that shit. And you don't even understand how much I love fucking reading.
And it's not a long book. It's maybe like a 18 pages book. But
I just read it out of. I just read Wealth of Nations. There's no book. It could be the longest shit ever, my guy. Listen,
I mean, it's the other way around. It's a humble book. It's not a big book. It's more like it's an essay. Really, it's compilation of essay and poetry. But I'm proud of it, and I'll send you the PDF.
I would love to read that. To me, that's the dream. All this stuff now, like the rapping and all of that, like it's fun. But like books are forever, ever.
Bro, get on it. You let me know. You let me know. I'm not even joking. It's on camera. If you want, there is good chances that I have a book editing company for your first book already. They are a beautiful editing house, and they edited book, published book for my sister and for myself. And you are of a level of intellect that I'm quite sure they would be happy to publish a poetry book or essay book from you. So that
That is
should
the
not
most
be a
wildly interesting thing someone said to me in a minute.
that's not even I'm telling you, it's not even that wild. You have to have the content for it, but I'm telling you, the opportunity is right there.
Bro, you just got me inspired on that shit. Content's not a problem. Structure may be a problem. Content's not a problem.
So that's it. Structure yourself, man. And I'll even pass you the only thing why I said not 100%, it's because they are based on French. So I don't know
Mm.
if they have bilingual books, but
Yo, but even if
I'm
it's not them, if not them,
exactly, it is
yo,
it is available. I think it's always the thing.
yo,
We
people
like
actually, just because you said, people read my long ass Facebook posts. So it's wild, right? Like they read the
some of
long
them,
ass.
I'm sure. those who love you and those who enjoy your content and your purpose, they do take the time. Indeed.
Super valuable. Yo, your knowledge nuggets are
Indeed.
ridiculous. Yo, I
And
appreciate you,
my
Monk.E.
brother, let me send you love, appreciation. I really enjoy the angles you have and the perception you have of me and our community and the culture that gave birth to us or inspired us or built us to a certain level. Shout out to everyone that listened to this, that were involved and sending energy, even if I didn't see you. I kept going because I knew some of you were
Yo,
there
there's 12
watching and
people right
listening.
now. Yo, that number
You
has
see?
not dropped under 10, which for me is good numbers. Since, like, honestly, you got here. That's
So
like a
that's
lot of
amazing.
people that just stuck through the whole thing.
So much love to you, much love to your network, much love to your people, much love to your projects. Gratitude to you, and I'll speak to you soon.
Fresh. And yo, just thank you for coming through. I'll close that up right quick. Thank y'all for watching. For the people in the future, links in description. Make sure to like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff though. And on that note, everyone's saying bye. It was super great to have you here. This was a blessing, man. Live long and prosper. Shout out EOW. Yo, for real, shout out EOW. They're fucking wonderful. And it was great to have you here, man.
Love you, love everyone that keep respect on tradition and cultures and humanity. We are alive.
Peace.
Peace.